Hey guys, and welcome back to the Honeybee Chronicles podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, dyeing yarn sometimes, and other fun crafty things. My name is Rafa. You can find me on the internet as at Honeybee Chronicles on Instagram, and you can find our group in Ravelry if you search Honeybee Chronicles. It's not an active group, but we're going to make it an active group. We're going to be intentional. This is now my 6th time filming over the course of like a couple weeks. Actually, it's been more than a couple weeks. I am trying a different setup. I'm using my iMac directly through iMovie. Stuff you don't care about, I know. But I'm really hoping that this works because this is a super easy way for me to film. Just to throw it out there, if there's any weird cuts, I don't know if and when the video will pause itself, stop itself, whatever. If it does, I apologize. I'm going to try to make this as seamless as possible. Yeah, I had filmed a whole little section about passive-aggressive compliments. It's literally like 4 minutes of me rambling because my partner Noah, who you guys have seen in some of the previous episodes, if you haven't, welcome to the Honeybee Chronicles. If this is your first time here, I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. If this is not your first time here, welcome back. I know it's been a long time, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, it'll be better going forward. But I was saying, because he left me a note about, or he sent me a text message that popped up on the screen, which I'm not used to, and I need to do the do not disturb, but I just forgot. But, so I'll kind of like briefly say what I said before, and hopefully it'll be less rambly than it was before. So I work weird hours. I work 3 a.m. to like 10:30, 11 a.m. usually. The life of a salary. Sometimes I work later, sometimes I work earlier. But Noah gets out of work, so he works 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. I work earlier, so I'm out way earlier. And so I go to bed way earlier as well, which is annoying, but neither here nor there. However, so the thing that's funny is that Noah, today he texted me, or he messaged me at work because we work at the same place. He sent me an IM, hey, can you throw the towels in when you get home in the wash? Sure, of course. He sends me an IM or a text message as I'm sitting here. Thank you for throwing the towels in the wash. I'm like, I know it's his way of like not asking me if I've done it, but making sure I don't forget. But I just roll my eyes. I'm like, really? Of course I did it. I'd already done it. They've been in the wash since before I started recording. Since before I started gathering my intention to record. They've been there. So, yeah. Anyway, so like I was saying, this is, for anyone who's new, I'm going to kind of treat this episode, it's episode 11, it's the first in the next set of 10, and it's been the first in a really, really long time. I'm going to set this as new beginning, brand new, fresh start. So I think we'll start with like my knitting history, I guess. So I have been knitting for 6 years now. Yeah, it's been 6 years that I started knitting. Stopped for a little while, started up again in 2015. More seriously, so for like the last 3 years. For a little while I had a yarn dyeing company, Honeybee Yarns. Taking a break from it because it just didn't really go anywhere. I had fun dyeing. I still have some yarn to dye for myself, and you'll see in the projects that I show you there's a fair amount of my own hand-dyed yarn. But it's just something that I haven't been focusing on. Knitting in general was a huge challenge for me when I first started. I got a book and a kit from Michael's, or like just a big box craft store, in case there's not a Michael's where you're from. And I could not understand it. Like, I had started with crochet. I started crocheting when I was young. My maternal grandmother taught me how to crochet. She wasn't the best at it, no shade or anything, but it was just, she's a painter. My Nana was a painter, 100%. So I say a lot of which is not normal. I think I'm just out of practice of filming myself. But she is an artist, painter, 100%. That's where her talent was. Crochet, not so much, but it was one of those like societal required things that she picked up and I wanted to learn. So she showed me when I was young. It didn't stick. When I was a little bit older, I wanted a beanie. I didn't want to buy one. I wanted to make one. So I relearned. She would help me with like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Is this what it's supposed to look like? All that kind of stuff. And so that's how I started crocheting. And then from crocheting, I wanted to learn how to knit. Got a kit. did it, liked it, but I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me how the stitch left the needle, because in crocheting you're just like continually adding, versus in, I don't know if that makes sense, versus in knitting the like stitch falls off. It's a mess. It took me months, but it was one of those things that was such a challenge that I had to do. After that, I knit for a couple 6 months ish, I was gonna say a couple of months to a year. It was about 6 months. Then I just stopped. It just wasn't interesting to me. And then on Instagram, back in like 2014, 2015, I saw a post. It was like on the Explore tab about knitting, and I was like, I forgot about knitting. And I found an Instagram, and I wish I could remember the name. It's not, I want to say it's like Wool Folk. I think it's Wool Folk. And she lived in like, I think she lives in Nova Scotia or Prince Edward Island. She lives somewhere, and she lives very remotely, very much off the grid, and she would make these beautiful Lopi sweaters and just this rustic knitting, and I was so intrigued. So from there, kind of jumped into knitting as a thing again, and looked at Ravelry again for the first time in like probably a year and a half, 2 years, and started with cheap yarn, and then I got my first skeins of hand-dyed yarn and just fell in love. Then I found Laura from Jinx Yarns, who has the Dyer's Notebook podcast, and she was like a huge inspiration to me because I'd never known people filmed themselves like, and they're knitting things. And I had honestly, before, I had thought of like a YouTube channel where I chatted and knit at the same time. And to me, I'm like, no one would ever want to watch that. That's not a thing. Then I found these podcasts, and I was like, what? Wow, that's so cool. So this was now like 2 years ago, about, if not a little bit more, and I just have been sucked in ever since. It just makes me really happy. It's something that I really enjoy. I love the challenge of knitting. I love the meditative nature of knitting. I love that I get something out of it. I can spend hours working on something, and I'll play video games too, and I'll do other things to amuse myself, but those don't really have a product at the end of it, if that makes sense. When I knit, I will work on something and I'll see progression of what I'm doing, or I'll have a finished object at the end of it, even though I never finish things. But, it's just the nature of it. So that's me and my knitting story in a nutshell. From a technical standpoint, I started originally as Lord knows what. It was probably some very, very early version of flicking or throwing. I honestly can't remember. I remember the first finished object that I have. My best friend has it. Or the first finished object that I made, and again, my friend has it. I made her a cowl. That was like a self-designed pattern. I wish I would still self-design. Another story. But they just didn't have, I couldn't find what I wanted in terms of a pattern, so I made my own. But, I'm on so many tangents. But I decided so that's how I originally learned how to knit. It was very slow and very tedious for me, and I get impatient. There's a word in Spanish, me desespere. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know the word. There's so many words. Okay, so I'm bilingual, if you can't tell. I speak Spanish. Spanish was my first language, and then English, and then I learned and can understand, but I won't classify myself as really fluent in Portuguese. I learned that in college. But there's a lot of words, and even more so in what I do, because I work in a Spanish department, there's a lot of words that I don't have literal translations for. So if I do that, I apologize, but sometimes I just need to use it. But like, it would frustrate me, and I get really like impatient doing it. So long story short, I learned how to Portuguese knit, and I learned that through Craftsy, through the Andrea Wong channel. And I was looking, so you guys are on my desk in my craft room / knitting room. I wanted to see if I had a clip, and I do not, unfortunately. But so I had like a necklace that I could string the yarn through. I had a little clip that I could put on the side of my shirt. I had a few different things, and I did that for probably a year when I first got back into knitting. Very fast, very even tension. It was really nice, but I didn't like the lack of portability of it. And what I mean by that is, when you knit Normally, you can literally just pick up your project, put your needles in your hand, and go. With Portuguese knitting, you need to either string it around your neck, which I hated the feeling of the yarn sitting like this and like rubbing, or have my pin on me, or have my necklace on me, and it was just too much. So I decided I wanted to relearn how to knit with my right hand. And so it is very much the way that I knit now, which is flicking. And I didn't even realize it was called flicking. I didn't know what flicking was, but it was just the way that I would crochet, and I translated it into knitting. I have, in more recent time, learned and become more comfortable with continental knitting to an extent. It is still not my favorite. It is not my go-to. I'm also left-handed by nature, so I think that has something to do with it. But when I do color work, again, I can do it in both hands, but the rest of the time I tend to favor my right hand. But, so yeah, from a technical standpoint, that's kind of where I sit. I'm very fidgety, and I don't know why. I think I'm just not used to this anymore. But, so I actually, for the first time, probably ever, maybe once before, I have show notes, just some words for me to look at to kind of make sure I know where I am. So, started with my intro, we're good there. Now I'm going to go into where I have been. So, it's been a long time. I want to say it's been like 10 months since my last episode went up. Before that, it was a few months before. I've technically been podcasting for like 2 years, and it's weird. But, so, I'm trying to think. So when I last left you, I had recently started my current position, which I am a supervisor in a sales department in insurance. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say any of that or what I'm supposed to say. I don't care. That's what I do. I'm not going to say the company I work for just because I don't know if I'm allowed to, and it doesn't matter, honestly. But when I started as a supervisor, it was easy. It wasn't a hard transition in. It was very fun. But over time, I realized how much energy it took from me, and really so I started as a PM supervisor, so I would work in the evenings, and it was cool because I woke up early anyway, so I would have a few hours before I went to work. I'd work, come home, be up for a couple hours, go to sleep. But then the opportunity came to move to the mornings, and I took it because I'm naturally an early bird. But it's honestly taken me it took me about 6 months or so to get fully comfortable with that, with the schedule, and with not being a zombie all the time. Because when you wake up at 2:55 in the morning, your body is not meant to be up at those hours, so you're like confused, and B, your brain doesn't work fully, or at least mine didn't. So it took me a while to get comfortable and get used to it, but during that time, saw a lot of change in my personal life, and by that I mean we moved. So we were living in an outskirt of Phoenix. Again, in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the capital of the state. I'm from about 100 miles south of here, and from a city called Tucson. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but that's where I'm from originally. But we lived about 18 miles each way from work, which to a lot of people, I know it's not that far. But you have to think about that we're in a major metropolitan area with some of the worst traffic in the country. So it would take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half to get to and or from work, which was awful. Traffic sucks. It was stressful. It was exhausting. It was scary. And really the neighborhood we lived in, we didn't like very much. We loved our house. I loved my home, which is where I started my podcast, and every other episode up until now has been filmed there. It was my perfect house in so many ways, but just the location was not what I wanted. The food choices out there were not great. There was no culture. There was nothing to do. To go to, for example, a Michael's, a Joann, a Hobby Lobby, like any store, even a Target was like a day trip because there was none near me, so I had to drive at least 20 to 30 minutes in no traffic to get there. It just was very counterproductive and it wasn't right. It wasn't the right fit. So after some soul searching, some deliberating, all that fun stuff, we decided to move. And so we moved into an older house built in late 70s, I believe. I want to say it was like 78. Purchased, sold our other home, all that fun stuff. And so we spent the summer of 2017 hunting for a house. We started our search, I want to say like middle of June was when we like initially decided we had made it the conscious decision probably end of May that we were gonna move, and so we started in the following month to just start to get the house ready. We had a realtor come out, kind of tell us what we should do to get the house ready, all that fun stuff, and so it took a while to find the right house. It was every weekend, spending the entire weekend out hunting for houses. Exhausting. Like, I'm talking about sometimes 10, 12 hours a weekend spent searching. It was exhausting. And in the middle of the summer when it's 120 degrees outside, it was smart in the sense that we would be moving when it wasn't as hot, but dumb in the sense that we were wasting away my car trying to do these hunts. Thank God I have a Prius and it could handle it. But so we found this house. It needed a lot of love. It was in a lot of ways very outdated. It was not what we wanted in a lot of ways. The bones were good, but for example, the yard was bare. The floor it was this weird fake wood that looked real in the sense that it looked beat up and scuffed, but it wasn't real. And then the rest of the house had this ugly pitch white carpet, which when you have 4 animals the way we do, you can't. So it was an entire process to get the house there. We backed out once, but end of it all, we ended up getting this house and we love it. It's the perfect house for us now. And we had some major renovations done. We had the floors redone, baseboards redone, sliding glass door knocked out and had it replaced with a window. We had just a bunch of little things done to the house. And so for the span of about a month, we lived in our realtor's, which he was amazing and such a godsend to us. We lived in one of his rentals, which was a 1-bedroom, like 300 square foot apartment. 4 animals, again, Noah and I, not all of our stuff, but a good amount of our stuff. It was hard, guys. It was a mess. And what I've learned about me in my life is that things either come in huge waves or they don't come at all. So during that time, we were getting ready to go on a trip to Japan. Shortly after we got back from Japan, Noah was about to go to Nebraska for a week. It was just a lot of things going on. And on top of that, me dealing with my job and dealing with, getting used to my new team that I took over and all that. And so it was intense. It was such an intense few months. So during that time, we finally moved into this house beginning of October. And then just about 2 weeks out from when we moved in, maybe less. I want to say it was less. We went to Japan, and we were in Japan for 2 weeks, which was amazing. Noah and I went. We went during my birthday. Had such an amazing time. I had gone the year before, if you'd watched any of my older podcasts. And it's my favorite place in the entire world. If I could move there, I honestly would, probably in a heartbeat. But, so we went there, and then again, like I said, shortly after Noah went home for Thanksgiving. Well, during that whole time, I was just trying to figure out, this house. I was trying to learn it, trying to get comfortable in all that. And so, not to spend too long on where I've been, but now we're at the point where we're comfortable. The majority of the house is unpacked. We're not in a rush to unpack everything. We were in our last house because it didn't feel like home. And so I think we wanted all of our stuff where it needed to be immediately so that it would feel like home, kind of trying to remedy it. Never happened. This house, we've decided to really take our time in terms of putting things in intentional places. But the funny thing is that immediately I needed to get my knitting room organized. And so I did, and this room was probably the first room that was completely done. And so I have some vinyl pops and stuff there. I have over here, let me see if I can turn this so you guys can see. Well, you probably not. Okay, right there, you can see I have a little house that has all my Harry Potter figurines and random yarn. And this room has really just been, oh god, now I'm not a fan of how things are set up. Oh, there we go. That's better. Yes, I much prefer that. This room is just so much better for me. And then, oh god. You can see there's all my yarn. It's a mess. I need to organize it. This is honestly me not preparing and thinking about it to show you. And there's Belle. There. So anyway, so this has been just a process, but like I'm so happy where we are. We live a lot closer to work. We have a lot more options of things to do, of places to eat, of all of that kind of stuff. So I honestly, we're very, very happy now. But that's where I've been. Still been knitting. I've gone through waves where I posted a lot stuff. I'm not going to say a lot on social media. Then I go off of it just because I just don't feel like it. There's no like, it's not, I am holier than thou. I don't post. It's honestly nothing like that. I love people who post a lot on Instagram. I wish I posted more. I wish that I just had more record of the things that I do in terms of, especially like projects and stuff. But I don't. But needless to say, I do have some knitting to talk about. I have some philosophy to talk about in terms of my knitting. I'm not sure you guys want to hear that, but we're going to go there because you chose to click on this video. But we're going to start with a finished object. So, one thing that I've done a lot of within my knitting career, my knitting time, has been test knits because, I don't know, I think deadline knitting is very good for me. It makes me get stuff done. And one designer that I am very close to, and I have worked with her quite a bit throughout the last few years, is Jessica Gore. Her Instagram name is The Sweater Collective. That's kind of her business name. But Jessica's designs are very classic. They're very simple, but there's something of interest in it. So the shawl that I recently completed for her, and this has not been blocked, it has not been, the tassels haven't been added, in fact the ends haven't been woven in. This is the Barton shawl. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is a shawl that's a triangular shawl with a really interesting, let me see if you can see it. I hope you can see it. I can't see the screen at all. A very interesting like garter, stockinette, triangular motif throughout. And then it has a really interesting band of seed stitch, which is blowing out completely. It's not going to show you right. So we'll talk a little bit about this. The shawl is huge. Again, it has not been blocked. This was knit in DK. It is my first ever DK weight shawl. It's way beyond my wingspan, and again, it hasn't even been blocked yet. But this was knit in Madeline Tosh Merino DK for the majority in the Modern Fair Isle colorway. That's actually a really good representation of the color. This is my leftover. The shawl was supposed to take just under 2 full skeins. This is my 3rd skein, so I had, let me see. Come on, focus. Focus. There we go. I did not meet the yarn requirement, but I noticed that a lot of the other testers didn't either. So if it's a pattern you're interested in, be mindful that you will probably need a 3rd skein, unless you want to make it shorter or you want to make it less, just a smaller footprint. But I'll kind of show you. Again, ends have not been woven in, but this is kind of what it looks like. If you can see, I really enjoy it. I like the texture. Was it the most fun knit I've ever done? No. But is it something that I think will get a lot of wear? Yes. So, again, the Barton shawl by the Sweater Collective, aka Jessica Gore. There you go. You can see her. You can see the texture. And the main yarn is Modern Fair Isle by Madeline Tosh. And the other yarn, this bright highlighter, there you go. That's probably the best representation we're going to get. It is very bright in person. This is my own hand-dyed yarn, Honeybee yarns. Ooh, I don't like the angle. Okay, I think I like this angle better. Let me know what you guys think. I just shortened it. Anyway, so it was knit on with Madeline Tosh, Tosh DK, which is 100% merino wool in the Modern Fair Isle colorway, and then the other color is this, which is not going to show correctly because natural light is funny that way. Let me see. Yeah, no. It looks radioactive in this. So this is my radioactive colorway. This is Honeybee Yarns. This is a fingering weight yarn. It is, there we go. That's probably the best you're going to get. So it's a MCN blend, and I just held it double. to mimic a DK. I really enjoy it. I really like how it worked up. I used about 60 grams held double, so about 30 grams of a DK weight. And very, very happy with it. I really like how it looks. That part is the part that comes closest to my neck because it's the end, so it's very, very soft. And the Mad Tosh DK is very soft too. So yeah, honestly, 100% recommend it. And so that pattern just came out yesterday, which was Thursday, May 22nd. I'll put a link to it in the bottom if I remember. But yeah, if you guys want something very simple, very mindless, it's very potato chippy in that you memorize the pattern of the triangles really quickly. It's not hard to keep track. Definitely check it out. I'd recommend it. So with that being said, I am going to jump into whips. So actually, let me talk a little bit about kind of my thoughts. So the last time that I filmed a video, which didn't get uploaded because of technological issues, I went through every single whip that I had on my needles. Every single one. And there's a lot because I do have ADHD and I do suffer from castonitis often. And I don't joke about the ADHD part. I know that could sound insensitive, but I really do. But I get the how do I even say it? When I repeat, or when I'm doing something that's very mindless, it's not necessarily good for me. I need things that switch it up. I need things that, I need just change in my life. So part of that ends up being casting on new things. I'm sure every other knitter goes through it, unless you're like a serial monogamist, to which I salute you, because that's not me. I low-key wish it was at least a little bit more than it is a lot of times. But, so I'm not going to go through every single whip that I have on my needles. I'm not. But I'm going to go through the ones that I've been working on most recently. And after I go through them, I'm going to kind of talk about my plans, my intentions, all that kind of fun stuff going forward. So, oh God, that was terrifying. No. There. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about the ones that I've been working on most recently. So the project that honestly has captivated my attention most in recent time is this shawl. Don't fall off the needles. Oh man. There's so much stuff. I'm a mess. That's okay. Most of the best people are. So this is the wrong side. This is A Girl's Best Friend. It is a pattern by, I have it written down, by Isabel Kramer. And guys, I love this thing so much. I saw Sue Stokes from the Legacy Knits podcast knitting one and was immediately inspired. It's very rare that I get inspired like that to knit something, but I don't know what it was about it. So this is mine. Again, it's still on the needles, obviously. This is it from top to bottom. I am knitting mine on 40-inch Haya sharps in the size 4, which is what the size that was recommended in the pattern. The colors are, this top one is Dirty on Purpose, in it's by Vine Yarns, in the Stellina base, which I believe is I just had the paper. I can't remember what this base is called, I'm sorry. But you guys know which one it is. It's the one that has gold stellina. The second color, I'll just go into this one, is also a Vine Yarns. It is in Neptunia, which was a color I bought 2 years ago probably, so it's not I don't think it's a regularly available color. I got it during the summer. And it's a beautiful, just like turquoisey and bright green, a little bit of blue, and like deep blue and like some purple speckles. I wanted something that would be variegated, but would be soft enough to show these like teardrops that you do, because the teardrops are a pain in the butt, guys. I'm not even gonna lie. The teardrops you make 5s a lot, so when you're towards the bottom of this, that's a lot of stitches to have on your needles, and then you decrease them over a few rounds, or rows, I should say. But this is, again, Neptunia. And then this color, which you can see is like a framing color, but it also is the ribbing that I'm working on. This is one of my own colorways. It doesn't really have a name that I remember. It was one of my first one-off skeins, but I thought that the blue was a really good a really good contrast and also complement to the rest of it. I had started actually originally with this color as where the blue is. Y'all, I'm a mess. When I say I'm a mess, I'm not lying. But I thought that that color was too harsh for the mood of this shawl. So, there, you can really see the color there. So it's just a very mid-tone blue with some darker speckles throughout. Not very many, it's a more tonal color than anything. And I am about 16 rows away from being done. I am so excited to bind this off, to be done with it, to make some tassels to go along with it. I just love this thing. And I don't even know, like if you were to ask me specifically what is it about it that I love so much, I couldn't tell you. Also on it, I have a Needles Up project keeper from Sucre Miniatures. I got it on Andre Sunit's Etsy store. Ooh, I'm squeaking a lot and I apologize. I'm falling out of my chair. If you guys sit through this, you guys are amazing. But, so I got it shortly after Needles Up. I saw she had some and I was like, oh, that's so cute. I want it. So it's on my thing. And then I got these from, I believe it was Stitched Together Studios. I could be completely wrong with the name. And they're little cats. Everyone has been showing them off on their podcasts. I think they're so cute. So I have that. Again, this is going to be a really big shawl. So one thing I was a little bit worried about was yardage for this color 2, or color 3, I guess technically. Because when Sue was making it, she talked about that most people run out of this one. And I was really worried about that because A, I didn't have a full skein. I had used Neptunia in a couple of other projects and other iterations. They never lasted or anything. But I was worried about not having enough and, you know, being up ship's creek without a paddle or whatever. But I ended up being fine. I had this much left over at the end, which I believe is probably about 10 grams-ish. So I'm going to use this when I make the tassels, which will be really cool. That's a... You can kind of see the yarn. And then of Dirty on Purpose, I have this much left, which is a fair amount. It's probably closer to like 20, 30 grams. And this one I'm still working through, so this is the last color. But again, I absolutely adore this shawl. It's been very interesting. It has been a little bit monotonous and a little bit repetitive, but overall, I think I am so obsessed with it and how it looks and just the mood of it. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, that it's been worth it. And so I'm hoping to finish that hopefully today or sometime this weekend and be done with it and then block it. It is living in a bag by Home Row Fiber Co. It is her Miss Batty, I believe, bag, and I love this bag. It's one of her portable yarn bowls. Yeah, and I bought this from her back in like October or November. I just think it's super cute, and yeah, I wanted to use it for it. So, next, let me see. Okay, so next is a project that is living in my original Fringe Field Supply bag. I can't even say anything. Fringe Supply Co. field bag. This is the gray one. With a bunch of pins on it that I've collected mostly from Etsy. These aren't very many traveling pins. I have another bag over there that has more of my pins that I've collected on my travels, but we'll show that when I actually make progress or want to talk about that project, which won't be today. But I am working on the Shift, which is a cowl, and I'm sorry it's not in color, but it is a cowl by Andrea Mowry, who is probably my all-time favorite designer. I've tested it for her a lot in the past. This one I didn't test it, of course, but guys, I love this. This thing is so fun. So I am knitting it. Let me start with the colors. I don't know the names of any of the colors except for one, which is awful. I apologize. But I am knitting this on Madeline Tosh Pashmina Sport. It is a cashmere silk merino blend, I believe. It's beautiful, beautiful. Like, the softness is everything. So this is one of the colors. This is what I'm using as color A. It's blowing out a little bit, but it's not too far off. It's a very, very almost metallic bright turquoise. And it's not a teal, it's very, very much a true turquoise, but I love this color. So I'm knitting it with that. I'm knitting it with Edison Bulb, which is a slightly lighter, you can kind of see it's blowing out so bad, guys. But it's a slightly lighter version of like my yarn that I dyed. I love this color too, I think it's so pretty. And then the last color is this one, which I don't remember the name of again, but this is a very true to life color. It's a Shelly taupe color. And so this is the progress that I've made on that. This one doesn't have a stitch marker on it or anything because just couldn't be bothered. This is the right side. Okay, so it's blowing out like crazy, but it's funny to me because putting it next to the cool tone blue, it makes the taupe look gray, like very, very silvery gray. And this is a really cool construction. It has an I-cord edge on one side. The other side has a selvage edge because you seam it together. But it's knit flat in a very, very interesting construction style. And then it's seamed together into a cowl. But I'm having a lot of fun knitting this. I am done with the first 2 sections, I believe. I started this like a week ago, maybe. I think last Saturday. Or it might have been Friday. But I knit on it a bit. But really, like, I needed to get the Barton shawl done, and then I've been wanting to finish the Girl's Best Friend shawl, so this is kind of taking a back seat, but I will come back to it really shortly. I do really enjoy it, and I can't wait to wear it. So that is the shift, and this is being knit on Chiagu from the interchangeable set in US 5, 3.75 millimeters. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this project. It's kind of monotonous too, but it's interesting to see how it comes together, that it keeps my interest. And really, I plan on coming back to this really soon, like I said. Okay, next, let me see. Next is a project that I kind of cast on willy-nilly and I have not worked on a lot recently, but I can't wait to finish it. And this is a project that I had started in a different color, in a different time, basically, of my life, and gotten about where I am now and then messed up and just never picked it up again and ended up frogging it. But I am working on the Exploration Station by Stephen West. So, let me show you guys. Oh, I'm mid-row, of course. Oh, crap. Hold on. Of course I'm mid-row because they're short rows. I'm on the very last section of the short rows at the beginning. But, let me see. This is the front side. And these are all, okay. So mine is a 4-color shawl, I believe, because I have one constant, which is this gray, which is, I want to say it's like Storm Water or something like that from Madeline Tosh. It's in her singles base, which I can't remember what it's called. And then this color, which doesn't look very different, but you can see the variegation a little bit more. The cream color, and then this, which I know is Piñata. I don't remember the name of the other one in the middle. These are Hedgehog skinny singles, and they are from a club from like last year, I believe. So they're not readily available, but I had these, and I was originally working on the Speckle and Pop Mystery Knit Along. Didn't like the final product when I saw it, and so decided to scrap it and ended up deciding to use it for this instead. I love this. I love the colors, especially seeing them on camera. It makes me want to work on it. I just need to get back into the mentality of working on it, but I will soon. However, yeah, so this is what I've been working on. I'm, again, really, really enjoying it. It's been a while. Hopefully I'll come back to it really soon. I know that, like, Chelsea, again, from Legacy Fiber Arts is knitting on it. And I will say now I know how long the video can last. But anyway, what I was saying is I know that Chelsea from Legacy Fiber Arts is knitting on it, and I probably sound like a stalker of them. Really not. But I did see that, and I am knitting it on Haya's Sharps Interchangeable. I don't know the size because I hate how faint it is, and it's super hard to read half of the time. But it is living in probably one of my all-time favorite bags, and this is a bag that I got from Laura of I Heart You. She's a Canadian project bag maker, and she made this custom for me. Told her I loved unicorns. She found me this fabric. It's a sweater size bag. It has some really cool patchwork design on it. And then the inside is rainbow, which I think is really fun. Not the biggest rainbow person, but it works in this case. So, and it has I Heart Unicorns on it, which I love. I think that's so cute. So, yes, thank you, Laura. I love this bag. Next, let's see. We're going to talk about the Zweig. So I started the Zweig by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. I started it a few months ago, got super duper far in it, and then just stopped. And I am on the sleeves. Cannot bring myself to work on them. I want to finish it so bad because I do love this sweater. But all in due time, I guess. So it is living in a bag that I sewed for myself. It's messy. You can see right here. I got really sloppy towards the end, but I love this bag. I got the fabric, I believe, at like Hobby Lobby or something. And it's cool because it has a little pocket on the inside that's not sewn in well at all. But I love it. I'm learning how to sew. So this is where I'm at on my Zweig. And I'm knitting it with the Flexi Flips, I believe they're called, by Addie. For the sleeves, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I will honestly probably switch to DPNs when I finally decide to like wholeheartedly get back into working on this. I'm trying to like separate it. But you can see the entire body is done. And now is just sleeve island, which I'm very, very, very much stuck on. There you go. So this is all in my hand-dyed yarn. It's in a really pretty, I say really pretty, high twist MCN base. It's fingering weight. This color is called Emerald Isle. It's just a really nice tonal emerald green. And then this color is called Americana. And it's a very, very pale cream with some speckles of some blue and some red. And I think that's why I called it Americana. But I dyed this before Christmas, and I started it before Christmas, and then I just stopped. And again, it's just chilling, living its life. Hopefully I'll come back to it pretty soon. I love it. Honestly, I can't wait to have it done. When I initially decided to knit it, I kind of struggled with if I would feel okay with the lace yoke, but I really like it. I think it's so pretty. So again, the Zweig, hope to come back to it really, really soon. I just want to get it done because I really want to wear it. And I may end up ripping out the entire sleeve and then starting the sleeves again just so that they're even. But we'll see. So that's that project. We're almost done. So the next project that I was going to show was this. Okay. So this is living in a Fat Squirrel Designs bag. You can see her label. I love this bag. I got it during Christmas, and it's a sweater size, but it's like a lower profile sweater size, and it's a really thick, well-made, like decorative or decorator's cotton. So I am working on very, very slowly the Anna Fettig Mystery Knit Along. I will obviously be nowhere near done by the time the Mystery Knit Along ends, but I am knitting this out of, this is literally just a big old thing of stockinette. I'm knitting this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in the, who the hell knows? Oh, nope, no idea what the colorway. Oh, wheat, in the wheat colorway. I got this on sale for like less than $1 a skein, and I bought enough to make a very simple sweater. And I love mustard. I have nothing knit in it, so hopefully I get this done soon. I'm knitting this on Licca, my Licca needles in a size 5 because I'm a loose knitter, and I think it calls for 6. But I'm enjoying it. It's been fun. Very, 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 very slow going because I just haven't felt like it because I've been working on other things. And I started it actually during the test knit for the Barton shawl, so my mind was not on this. But the needles are fun. I'm not a big wooden needles fan, but in this case they work because they make my hands hurt less, and I don't know, I don't mind them. I may switch, I'm not gonna lie, as I say that. I may switch to Addie's, like the turbos, just because it's straight stockinette, and I know I have like fuzz everywhere. I know I can knit a lot faster with them just to get the body done, but we'll see. But yeah, it's living in there. Now, I have 2 more projects. One I forgot to write down, then I saw it sitting in here. And it is living in a bag that I sewed for myself out of this really cute flamingo fabric, and it has this like unicorn, because I love unicorns, ribbon. And it's the same pattern as the other bag, but these are the Winter Rose socks. I'm knitting these for my mom. It's been a mess. I switched needles like 4 times because I keep trying. A, I hate knitting socks. B, I really want to like knitting socks, but more than that, I want to like 9-inch circs, and I hate them. I also tried the Flexi Flips in a size 1, hated them too. I'll probably just go to some DPNs or Magic Loop in the near future. But this is the Winter Rose sock by Helen Stewart. I love it. This is knit out of my own yarn, again, in a BFL sock base. I call the color Spin Cycle. But it's just a really very, very tonal light gray. It's kind of complex of a color. These are really fun to knit. I got down the leg pretty quickly and then just stopped. I need to get back to them. I want to give them to my mom in the nearest future. So, and it has a 1x1 twisted rib, which I love. Really cute lace detail. It has a heel flap and gusset, which is not my favorite, but I'm doing it because that's what the pattern calls for. And my mom has never had socks knit with the heel flap and gusset, so we'll see what she thinks of them. But that's being knit, again, very, very, very slowly. I need to come back to that too. Now that I finished the test knit, I have so many things that I just want to work on and want to finish, but sometime soon. So there's that. And the last project that I wanted to show is living in my newest bag, which is an acquisition that I haven't spoken about yet. Obviously, because I haven't spoken about acquisitions in a long time. But this is in a Fat Squirrel Fibers bag, or Fat Squirrel Designs bag. I don't know what she goes by. This is in her Hygge bag, which I love. It's a little cat, dog, knitting. I saw this, and then I saw that she was coming out with this size. It's huge. So big. I could fit like 6 or 7 projects in here easily. But I had to buy it. I love big bags, and I cannot lie. So in here is living my Nelchina, I believe is how you pronounce it, cardigan. This is another pattern by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. It is a color work steeked cardigan. At least the version I'm working on is. Let me find the... Here, so you can kind of see. This is the back. I am halfway down the body of the colorwork design, the main colorwork design. Halfway down it. I think this thing is beautiful. This is being, you can see where it's going to be steeked. This is being knit out of Knit Picks City Tweed DK. And it is a, let me see it. It's a 55% merino wool, 25% superfine alpaca, 20% Donegal tweed DK weight yarn. So I don't know if I have all the labels, but I think I do. So this is Kitten, which is not the main color of the sweater, but it's the main color of a lot of the color work, if you can't tell. So being knit out of that, it's being knit out of Lemon Curd, which is a mustardy yellow, which is blown out, of course. There you go. The main body of the sweater is Jacquard, which is this really pretty turquoisey color, which you can see in the collar. And then the last color is Obsidian, which is a dark gray. Am I loving this? Yes. Is it super soft? 100%. Is it slow going? Yes, because I get distracted and I need to really, like, I need to be able to sit and have, like, mental space when I knit on this. I'm knitting this on, I believe, is it Chiago? Yeah, it's Chiago's on a size 6, 4.0 millimeter. I'm a little bit worried because I read after the fact, of course, that steeking alpaca is not the best, but it's not a majority alpaca. So I think I'll be fine, and honestly, the softness is amazing. I can't wait to finish this. I just need to get back to it again. And that, again, is living in a Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. So, with that being said, that is all of the whips that I have on my needles that are active in any way, shape, or form. I have a needle that just fell out of a bag that I wasn't using. But I wanted to kind of talk about my new intentions going forward with my knitting. At least for the next month or so. I want to try to work through my whips. I want to try to get at least a few of them done. I don't have a set number, but I would like to finish my Zweig. I would like to finish the shift. I would like to finish the girl. All the projects that I have, I would like to finish, but I would like to at least get a few of them done before I cast anything else on. I have some things I want to talk about for like dream knitting, but right now, really, my focus needs to be to eliminate stress. And one of the things that I self-stress myself out with is whips, because I keep casting on new things and I keep wanting more projects and I keep wanting this, I keep wanting that, and I keep buying. I haven't bought yarn as much recently, but I buy yarn every so often, and I buy it for projects and they never get knit. And like I have multiple sweaters quantities. Like I'm looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like over 10 sweaters quantities that I just want to get knit into sweaters, because I don't have a lot of hand knit sweaters. I wear regularly 2. I wear my Comfort Fade Cardi by Andrea Mowry that I test knit, and I wear my my something cardigan by Anna Fettig. It's in the Home and Away book. I can't remember the name of it. But it's just a very basic, simple cardigan. It's not the Georgetown, but it's similar to it. I'll write it on the screen so you guys can see it. But, you know, I wear those all the time, and they're so comfortable, and especially when it cools down. I mean, I'm getting to the hotter season, so I wanted to have this Zweig for Christmas. That was supposed to be my Christmas sweater. It never happened. I wanted to have it for January. Like, I wanted to be able to wear it because I don't have any pullover sweaters that I really can wear. I had one that started coming apart. It was the Find Your Fade. The So Faded sweater that I test knit for Andrea Mowry as well, and I showed it in a previous podcast. It started coming apart, and so I just got rid of it. I know it's sad, but I did it without even thinking about it, so I wouldn't stress myself out over it. But back to what I was saying, you know, I spent all this time, I spent all this money on stuff and on projects and on yarn and everything, and I love knitting so much, but I just want more done. I just want things to be finished. So my goal for the rest of this month into next month really is to be intentional about what I knit, to focus on getting things done versus casting everything on, although there's going to be times where I cast some stuff on, and in fact, I have an acquisition to show you that's related to casting something on, but I really just want to try to be more intentional about what I do and how I do it, and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff, and really, like, being honest with myself about colors and about what am I going to actually wear and what do I actually want, and if it's not me, then who? I'm going to go down. Ready? You know, what really is speaking to me versus what I feel like I need to get done or what I feel like I need to use up or XYZ in the third. So that's kind of where my mind is going in terms of my projects and in terms of where I want to see myself in the future in terms of my knitting. And over the next couple of months, I really want to just finish things. I really want to organize my stuff more. I want to have just, I don't know, just like, I want to clear things off the needle so I can clear them off my conscience, if that makes sense. And it sounds dramatic, I know, but, you know, it is what it is. So now I will talk a little bit about some dream knitting. So I have been really forcing myself to not cast this on, knowing me as soon as after I just had that conversation about my intentions and, you know, whatever, knowing me, I'll like go and cast this on tonight. No, I'm not going to. But speaking of, I have a friend, her name is Maria, and her and I work together, and she is the worst enabler when it comes to knitting and when it comes to projects, because she, like, to her, you only live once, cast it all on. You only live one, add more whips to your pile. And for me, like, I live that life too much for myself and for my own well-being. But she's like, no, just do it. It's pretty. No, you're gonna want it anyway. You're gonna be happy you did it. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I'm trying to be strong and be like, nah, like, I'm gonna get what I need done first before I add anything else to my plate. But anyway, so I'll talk about this anyway. My current obsession, and really, like, I really want to knit it, is the Range cardigan by Andrea Mowry. I did not get the chance to test knit it. I unfortunately missed the call by like an hour before it had filled up, which is fine. But I initially thought the pattern was really pretty, and then it came out, and I'm not gonna lie, I was not a fan of it. I did not like the look for myself because I'm already a little bit bigger, and it's a very oversized sweater when modeled by Andrea. And I mean, it has like 19 inches of positive ease or something crazy. So it's a big sweater anyway. But with the dolman shaping and everything, I was like, it's a cool sweater, but it's not a sweater I will ever wear myself. Fast forward to EYF, which is the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I'm sure all of you knew what that was. I saw pictures from La Bien-Aimée of two men wearing the range, and both of them wore it with less ease. And then I saw Amy from La Bien-Aimée wearing hers with like no ease, very, very fitted to the body, and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. So did a little bit of stash diving, and I don't own a crap ton of sport, and I really don't, because like I talked about how many sweaters quantities I have, I did not want to jump into items that I already have, if you know what I mean. So I didn't want to like break up sweaters quantities and everything. So then I started looking and decided on this yarn, which I've had in my stash for a while, and I started knitting something on it. This is Quince & Co. Finch in the honey colorway. And everyone a couple of years ago was talking about this color, and I've been obsessed with it for a really long time. It's beautiful. It has great stitch definition. It's woolly. It's soft. It's just everything I've wanted. And I have a lot of it because I had originally bought some for the Ernest cardigan by Joji Locatelli. Started it. It's very nice. It's still sitting here. In fact, I'll show you. I'm frogging it now. But you can see the stitch definition is amazing. But honestly, this thing would have taken so long to knit that I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm frogging it into a little ball, and I'm going to use that and make a one-colored range. And I plan to do it in the near future. I kind of told myself that if I can get like 2 or 3 of my projects that I talked about off the needles, that I would let myself cast it on. But again, I'm still kind of toying with when I will allow myself to do that, you know? Watch, next week I film and it's on there, on the needles. Hopefully not. And the only reason I say hopefully not is because I don't want to add any more stress to my knitting. Because knitting is not something I do for production. It's not something I do for anyone but myself. And in terms of like, the reason I do it is for the action and the meditative qualities of it, like I've said. But I don't know, I am very, very drawn to that pattern, and especially in this, and I love this color, and I can't wait to be able to wear it for something. Like I talked about the wheat sweater from the Anna Fettig sweater, I really want those to be sweaters in my near future. So, hopefully, that'll be on my needles soon. And I think that's my only dream knitting. Yeah. So, I will talk about one more acquisition. I have other acquisitions. I just don't feel like getting into them right now. But my acquisition that I got recently was this lovely bag of Wool and Vine yarns. So I ordered one of the kits for the Curious Handmade Helen Stewart Mystery Knit Along. And so, it smells like wool. It's crazy to me that even it can be like weeks later and wool still smells like wool. But so this is Solstice, and it's on her Nouveau base, which is a single ply 100% superwash merino, 400 yards, 400 grams. So this is Solstice, this is Curious, and this is Thaw. And honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, these two colors are everything to me. This color I like, but is it for me? No. So I will probably end up switching it with either Neptunia, which is on my girl's best friend shawl, this color, even though it might be a little bit light, or I may go into my stash for another single ply. Lord knows I have enough of them. But this is the set that it came with. I did that with another kit that I got from her, just because the color was, again, very pinky or very mauvey, and I like mauve, but not for myself. So, but I loved the other two, and this is the only way I was going to get them, so I was fine with it. But so I got those, and then I also ordered this, which was a Strange Brew, which are like her one-of-a-kind skeins, and it was Glitter on the Highway, and I love this so much. If you can't tell, neon is always on my brain. Maybe that'll be the title of this podcast. We'll see. But that mixed with like the dark speckles, and this is on her Volca base, which is an 80-10-10, 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. So soft, and I can't wait to knit with this. It is so beautiful. Like, oh, it makes me so happy. But I got those, and I did purchase the mystery knit along. I ordered it. Oh, look, she gave me 2 cards. That's fun. I ordered it today, which is the day that it came out, and I can't wait. I'm going to do it. I'm going to cast it on as soon as it comes. I plan on caking up the yarn over the next week or so, because I think the first clue comes out next Saturday, I want to say. And I plan on spending a portion of my Easter holiday, which is my favorite holiday of the year, knitting on the mystery knit along. So I'm very, very excited for that. But I hadn't purchased yarn in a while. The last yarn that I bought was a sweaters quantity from Knit Picks that I got for super good deal. It was during I think it was late January, early February. Because I've been trying to just work on the projects that I have, and I really have not had a need for new yarn. I don't. I love yarn. I'll still buy it on occasion, but I'm not actively hunting for yarn. But when I saw these kits, and I knew it was Helen Stewart, and I really enjoy Helen's aesthetic, I've realized that recently, that her aesthetic and her design sense is just great. And then on top of that, I'm obsessed with her podcast, the Curious Handmade podcast. I've been listening to it a lot lately. And I just really wanted to support her. I love Kristen Vollenbein. She's probably my favorite yarn dyer. Her hedgehog. Which are not uncommon sentiments, if I'm being honest. But I decided to really, to be intentional too and say, I want the kit because, yes, I could stash dive, and yes, I have a lot of yarn that I'm sure I could use, but why not? Why not just live my life and have some fun, But with that is all I have to talk about today. And I know it's a lot, and if anyone stuck through, I appreciate it and I applaud you. Let me know what you guys think of potentially doing a knit along. I was thinking about doing a knit along, maybe the months of April and May, doing something about whips. And I was trying to think of a clever title, and I thought of Obliterate the Whips. I know a lot of people do these knit-alongs, but honestly, I think all of us as knitters or fiber artists, whether you're a knitter or a crocheter, I don't care. Even if you do weaving or whatever tickles your fancy in terms of fiber, I think that we all tend to accumulate whips, and why not either have an honest conversation with yourself and frog it, or finish it. And I really would like to do maybe 2 threads, do a chatter thread and an FO thread. And I want it to be this. This is what I'm thinking. You guys can tell me what you think. I'm thinking of doing where, let's say, do you hear Libs? She's out the window in front of me. Hey, Libs. What? Hold on. Come here. Come here, Libs. Come on. Libs. Come on. Good girl. Come inside. Okay. You're probably going to have a cameo from Libs in a split second. And then Marco just woke up. Anyway, my baby. So what I was thinking is having it where the project has to be at least 50% away from being completed. So not something that you do, you literally have to bind off, or you just have to block it or whatever. But having a project that at least needs to be 50% or more away from being complete. So we'll say 49% complete or less. A. B is something that has sat in your whip pile for a little while and that you just want to get done. And C, I don't know. I'll work out the logistics of it, but I'm thinking maybe that it's not finished until it's been blocked. Now, it doesn't have to be photographed because I know I don't photograph all of my knitting, but at least blocked, ends woven in, done, having gone from at least at the max 49% done, so 51% not completed, to it can be like 10% completed when you cast it or when you start it. Have it be something languishing, not something you cast on the day before the knit along starts. Have it blocked at the end, and we can do that in one thread for the FO. And then for the other thread, we can talk about, like, have it like a chatter thread, but really have it be A, chatter, but B, what projects are we getting rid of? Are we just ripping out? I remember Katrina, who used to have the, why can't I think of the name? The Cat's Kettle podcast? No, that can't be right. Yarn 30. The Yarn 30 podcast. She did one where it was like crypts from the grave where like they either died and you undid them and you frogged them, or you finished them. So I kind of want to do the same. So let's do this. 3 threads. They'll be in my Ravelry group. One will be FOs. One will be chatter. One will be bye-bye. So for bye-bye, I don't want just pictures of it being ripped. I kind of want the story of why you decided to get rid of it. If anyone wants to donate prizes for this knit along, let me know. I would really appreciate it. But I think it'd be really fun, and I think it'd be cool to see what you guys choose to finish and what you guys choose to get rid of, and even more thought process behind it. So go ahead and go over to the Ravelry group. We're not going to start it until like April. Hopefully I will do a podcast right before then. Lord willing, I'll do one next week. That's kind of my plan. I'm off next Thursday and Friday because I'm working this weekend. So I should have time to put together an episode to kind of further go into it. But let me know if that is something you're interested in, because I think it would be so fun. But I don't know why I did that, but it was fun. With that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to edit this and try to get it up immediately so I don't have to think about it. Thank you guys so much for coming back. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. I don't know if it does anything for me, but I like seeing my subscribers go up. I'm not going to lie. I'm super close to 100, and I'm very excited about that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming back, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon.